He's all doing. I fell asleep last night doodling, and I don't even remember. I wasn't drunk or anything. I just fell asleep doodling, and I did this. I'm gonna paint it up today. Kind of spirally octopusy. Okay. Gay men, queers, homosexual men, and sorcery and magic. I get asked about this quite a lot because I have a big gay following, and I have lots of gay friends. Always had, and it's an interesting topic, and this applies to gay male men, not to like lesbians or anyone else. It also applies to some bisexual men. Now, first of all, gay men are actually natural instinctual magicians. It's we live in an age where, okay, we don't know really what makes a man be a gay and be attracted to other men. You hear all kinds of things about the gay gene, but it's all nonsense when you look into it. It's your personality and your consciousness are not from your genetics. They're from somewhere else. So, men are born into this world and they're attracted to other men. It's part of their identity and they're aware of it at a very young age. Now, it's a big deal, really, because even today in 2020, in the Western world, particularly in like very religious, say, societies like America and Eastern European societies, gay men, young gay people, young gay men are still thrown out on the streets by their parents if their parents suspect they are, or they told them that they're gay. It still goes on. There's a lot of homeless young people are gay, and in these countries. And I recently saw a thing about the Palestinians kill gay men as a national sport. It's just on hearsay is enough to drag them into a field, and they beat them to death, and they drag them on the back of motorcycles. And of course, all the Western activists who don't want to talk about this because it doesn't play into the whole thing that Palestinians are wonderful and perfect and they're always victims. But yeah, it's a horrific. It's probably the most dangerous place on earth to be a gay man next to some African countries. And you can say there's things like, there's trauma, brings trauma, affects trauma. That could be true as well. But I'm just saying that it was quite horrific what I was reading. Now, and it wasn't written by an Israeli, it was written by a Palestinian who had escaped from Palestine and moved to Germany. Now, so, okay, you have to think when somebody is that marginalized and attacked, it's usually for a reason beyond what the rationale is. So they say, oh, well, the queer bashing and homophobia exists because people are disgusted by men having sex with one another, but that's not the real reason. It's just like they say that they attack Jewish people because they're not Christians. No, there's another reason to that as well. A lot of it has to do with there's a jealousy and insecurity, and like what they say, and the same thing with like any group that's ever been attacked in that way. There's usually a jealousy and insecurity, and it's definitely true. I've seen it in life that the majority of gay bashers are gay men themselves. This is why you also have to be very careful of these fellas who are obsessed with hunting down paedophiles. It's very, it's one thing to point out crimes against children, to highlight it, but anyone who's obsessed with something is usually falling into the dark side of it. So so the real reason why men were attacked for being gay, thrown out of their houses, is because they're of a different consciousness that has developed outside what we'd call the norm. And that's why I like the term queer. Now, to be a gay person, a gay man, I'm talking about, this is not about lesbians, but gay men, is a very difficult thing when you think about it, even today. Even to be a gay, I know there's lots of gay people that love being gay and all this stuff, but it's not easy being a young person, even if you're in a liberal, tolerant society or family. You've got to sort of make that journey, and that journey into being a homosexual is a magical quest in itself when you think about it, because you're defying conventional norms within society, and that is the essence of magic. You see, in terms of how magic breaks through the barriers of reality, It's used. There's a very good comedy sketch by Steve Hughes, the Australian comic, and he talks about the the gayness of straight sex, and he says, "Oh, I want the woman, lovely soft vagina," and then he goes like, he says that's easy. He says, "Well, it takes a fucking a hard man to do it to another man," and yeah, that's absolutely true. I totally agree with that, and that's the point he was making. That there's an element of sacrifice. Gay men. Now, I'm not going to talk about these gay men who are obsessed with these sort of namby-pamby gay men who are obsessed with adopting babies. That's just basically, a lot of that's just fashion and fad. The majority of normal gay men I know are perfectly happy with their nephews and nieces as their kind of children, surrogates, and don't particularly have a desire. In fact, why would you want to give up that lifestyle of freedom in order to raise kids? But so they've sacrificed. They've crossed the threshold of convention and normality, and then they have to sort of live with this all the time. Even in a liberal society, you're on the edge with that stuff, and that's a natural magician and sorcerer when you think about it. It's like when you are skirting the margins of society, it's easier to hack it. Now, I remember seeing a drag queen a very famous drag queen called Mr. Pussy in Ireland. When I was a kid in Ireland, drag queens were very, very popular. They were huge, actually. And who they were popular with and who they were famous with were working class communities. Men used to go to see them sing, and they were generally very talented people. They could sing, they could dance, they could tell jokes, but they wore the most flamboyant costumes. You think of Paul O'Grady doing Lily Savage, that thing, the massive wigs, and it's one thing to see them up on a stage or on TV, but when I first got to New York and saw the drag queens walking around the West Village, it was unbelievable. They were like supernatural beings. They were, and the only way I've ever seen it described properly was in that movie Priscilla, the Queen of the Desert, where they went to I'm over about it in my book Sorcery, where they went to the Aboriginal sacred ground in the most outrageous drag queen outfits, silk and shiny sequins and everything, and it was absolutely perfect example of magic. It was one of the most powerful scenes I've ever seen in a movie, and some people said, oh, they were mocking Aboriginal. They were not. They were actually paying respect. It wasn't like they were trying to conquer it. They were tapping into that power force and unleashing their own power force. And so much magic ritual is about destroying yourself, destroying your sense of self in order to become something else. Now, when they say the demolishing of the ego, that doesn't mean like what the New Agers mean, like, oh, I have to stop being selfish and start being all loving. The demolishing of the ego is the demolishing of the self-identity temporarily in order to open yourself up to new experiences of consciousness. Now, gay people live in this state. Oh, pardon me, I belched in the coffee just then. Gay people live in this state a lot of them all the time. Now, there's all kinds of gay people. There's flamboyant gay people. Gay people are very straight and conservative. I know gay people are very conservative, very, very conservative, and they're just gay men. But they've all crossed that threshold. That that's they're already there. And why so many gay men are not involved in magic has always fascinated me, where so many lesbians are Wiccans. And I think a lot has to do with the fact that they're already natural magicians. They've already crossed over to the other side. And therefore they're already in a state of change or shifted consciousness. They've shifted in their reality. And so therefore they're there. Now this is why, we have bisexuality in some magic. Crowley and Victor Neuburg. Now Crowley, of all the things Crowley did, it was only a problem when he had sex with men. And he was crossing that threshold. People like true magicians like David Bowie have done it. The whole thing of jumping through. David Bowie was not gay. Neither was Crowley. But in order to take them beyond themselves, they had that experience. It wasn't sexual as much as it was a way of like literally exploring your consciousness to the fullest potential possible. A lot of that goes on. And for a straight man like me, I could never be. Now, I'm not. That doesn't mean I have a problem with it. It's their own. People's private lives are their own business, but I could never go there now, and that means that I have a a magical limitation built within me, magical that I could not go there. And I mean, do you remember I did the videos I did on prison sorcery and stuff like that? A lot of the homosexuality in prison. Well, not homosexual, but the homosexual. Should we say the sex between men in prison? A lot of that is rooted in that kind of thing as well. It's a momentary escape from the confines of the prison by taking yourself beyond it. And a straight guy having a bromance in religion is the ultimate, up yours to the system when you think about it in lots of ways. It's like, you have not destroyed me. You have not broken me. You have not wrecked me. And you think of sailors in the old days and the navies and stuff like that who used to do that. And, the whole friggin' and the rigging thing. They're already transported into a different reality by the actual maritime experience. Especially in the very old, like 400 or 500 years ago. And then add that to it. And this is the thing. And you look at Alexander's armies, the Macedonians, and the enormous military power they had, and the bromance was central to their stuff as well. These were men who just were just extreme on every level, and you don't get that much power just by military training alone. So I think one of gay men are natural magicians, and a lot of them are not involved in magic because they live it that way anyway. And you see, and I said, like, I'm not trying to stereotype gay people, but even the way a flamboyant, like, camp gay person can irritate the shit out of someone, like a homophobe, that's a powerful form of magic when you think about it. Oh, he's not doing anything except being, camp. And you'll see fellas going, really being, oh. I don't like that TV show Top Gear, but they drove a car through the American South that had things written on it like man love rules and gay love and love your brother and all these gay symbols and all these gay pride things, and they were literally having rednecks jumping in cars and following them with guns. Now, if you can get that reaction out of someone just by being gay, you're already a very fucking powerful magician.